What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is your boy B&B, Black Man Boating, big supporter of AMC, GME, HYMC, and I'm here today to just talk about a couple things in regards to the election. We got a big election that's going on right now. My question to you is, simple question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I've talked to a lot of people at work, family, friends, on X Spaces, and by and large, the answer is no. The consensus is no, and I would have to agree with that. And I wanted to say that because I grew up in a predominantly minority neighborhoods, predominantly black neighborhoods, Latino neighborhoods, and it was always from our elders, you vote Democrat. They always talked about the Democrats in a glowing light, and the Republicans were always the enemy. They were always the bad guy. So indoctrination at its finest, right? So plus, when you're younger, you're not trying to debate that. You just want to go out, hang out with your buddies, go play some sports, hang out with your buddies, do your thing. So you're not really paying attention to politics. Now you get older. You have kids, you have family out there in the real world, you're working, you start to understand that these things do affect your everyday life. So you take, for example, myself. The reason that I'm even on X is because of retail investing. The retail investors are a strong group on X. This whole thing started with GameStop. This started with GameStop many, many years ago. Invested in GameStop led me over to AMC, led me over to HYMC. So I am a cheerleader and an investor of all three of these companies. So when I am on X, this is what we talk about. We talk about the malfeasance in the stock market. And they're upset. People are upset because there is a different set of rules for the powers that be, the hedge funds, the banks, than there are for us, okay? And we recognize that. We see that. We don't have to be privy to the information about naked short selling to know that illegal naked short selling is happening. Every time they tell you it's not happening, you got a stock that just erupts, right? It short squeezes. Look at what happened with GME, for example. Look at all of the failure to delivers. Look at all of the things that 4 or 5 years ago we had no idea about. This has been one big learning lesson. It's been a class in stock market manipulation. And a lot of us have bachelor's degrees in this, and some of us have master's degrees in this. They curate the information. We take that information and we educate ourselves. And I'm very thankful to a lot of people in the community. That's a great thing about having X. And from the clip that I saw that Kamala was talking about, not a big fan of X. I don't know what she would do to X. Elon Musk is under the impression that she probably would try to close down X. I mean, he said that on the Joe Rogan show. Anyway, I want to talk about the DJT stock. This is very important because people that are retail investors, there's millions of us. We pay close attention to what's happening to the DJT stock. That's Donald Trump stock, right? Same thing is happening to them. Predatory naked short selling. You have the CEO, Devin Nunes, who has talked about this. Donald Trump has talked about this. Even Robert Kennedy Jr. has talked about this issue that is killing our markets. So I want to go ahead and play this clip by Devin Nunes. Check it out.
In the last 24 hours or so, a very important letter was transmitted to several chairmen, including Jim Jordan, who was on the show the other day, Chairman McHenry, Chairman Smith, Chairman Comer, raising the real concern that you're seeing potential stock manipulation of the DJT stock, your company stock. Tell us what you're seeing and why this communication to Congress is so important.
Well, thank you to both of you for having me. And as you know, I'm building a great company during the day. It's exciting to build a social media company. We're working on streaming, all these great things that we're doing. But John and Amanda, unfortunately, it looks like I have to run an investigation because we continue to show up. True Social does, the DJT stock, on what's called the Reg Show list. And we're not just on the reg show list, which is, nobody, it doesn't matter what it is. We don't have to get into it, but it basically means that stocks are not covering. So when somebody is shorting the stock at the end of the day, they're not covering. Now, we knew it was bad, but we finally got the numbers this week. And for the first 2 weeks of April, there were 700,000 to 1 million shares a day that aren't covering. Now, John, Amanda, I think your audience knows this. Markets aren't supposed to work that way in the United States of America. Matter of fact, that's about 10% roughly of our daily volume.
Wow.
Is not finishing. It's not closing. It means there's something wrong with the system itself. So we notified Congress last week about this. Some of our concerns about the market makers, people that would ultimately be at the top of the pyramid. Now what we've done is we've done an investigation. We continue to investigate, and now we've identified companies that are likely involved in some of this. We don't know that they are for sure, but as you know, we're not going to leave a stone unturned. If they're screening with us, we are going to investigate them, and we will track them down. Like I said, I can work on building a company during the day, and I can run investigations all night. It's not what we want to do, but as you know, I know how to run these investigations.
Reg show lists, failure to delivers, dark pools, derivatives, swaps. We had no idea what these things were 4 or 5 years ago. Didn't have a clue. And now, all of these years later, we have gotten so much information. And like I said before, shout out to the people that curate this information and provide it to the community. Because this is what happens. There's no financial advice, but what we do is we take the information that's provided and we make an informed decision. Do we want to invest in this particular stock? It's simple as that. The information is there. You just heard Mr. Nunez talk about this. They're not covering. They're not covering. So it leads me to believe, and I'm not privy to any type of information, right? I don't have the behind the scenes information for the hedge funds, but I know what it looks like. I know it looks like that companies are being illegally naked shorted. That's what it looks like. I mean, I don't know. I just know what it looks like. And there's millions and millions of retail investors who feel the same way. There's a gentleman by the name of Gary Gensler of the SEC, head of the SEC. Many of us have reached out to him many times, showing him all of these things that are very questionable, that look like they're illegal, and just falling on deaf ears. It looks like nothing's being done. And I want to go ahead and show a clip here. Donald Trump addresses Gary Gensler and what he's going to do to Mr. Gensler once he takes office.
If we don't win this race, this country could be finished as we know it. This country is going to be in bad shape, and we have to be in there. We have to fight, and we have to win. And I pledge to the Bitcoin community that the day I take the oath of office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's anti-crypto crusade will be over. It will end. It'll be done. It'll be done. The moment I'm sworn in, the persecution stops and the weaponization ends against your industry. And as long as I'm in the Oval Office, Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, do you remember? Yes, I'm an Indian. She said, I'm an Indian. Why are you an Indian? You don't look like an Indian. No, my mother told me I have high cheekbones. Oh, that's why she was an Indian. So I named her Pocahontas. Elizabeth Warren and her goons, and she's very nasty to you. She hates your people. She hates everything about you. Will keep their hands off Bitcoin. They're going to keep their hands off crypto. They're going to let it grow. We're going to let it grow. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman. I didn't know he was that unpopular. Wow. I didn't know he was that unpopular. Let me say it again. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. Whoa. And we'll appoint a new SEC chairman who believes America should build the future, not block the future, which is what they're doing.
Standing ovation. He got a standing ovation when he said, and I repeat, on day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. Whoa. People applauded. They stood up and applauded. This is in a Bitcoin convention in Nashville of this year. People in the AMC, GME, HYMC, MMTLP, DJT communities, I think we all have the same issue, right? But they all have contacted Gary Gensler, contacted the SEC and let them know, hey, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. This thing cannot be ignored anymore. So millions of retail investors, from what I gather, I didn't talk to all the millions, but it just seems like the consensus is they're looking at Donald Trump as the candidate that will do something about it, more so than Kamala Harris. I haven't talked to one person who feels that Kamala Harris will do anything about stock market manipulation. She will not do anything to rectify the malfeasance in the stock market. No one. Now, is it guaranteed? Is it guaranteed that something will be done? No. But I like the chances. I like the chances with Mr. President Donald Trump that he will do something about what's happening in the market because he feels our pain. Maybe not exactly. We're not billionaires like him, but you understand what I mean. His company is being attacked, predatory short selling, allegedly, and allegedly predatory short selling is being is an issue for the companies that retail investors invest in. AMC, GME, HYMC in particular. So this is a really big issue. This is a really big issue because there's a good part of the United States that they don't pay attention to what's happening in the stock market, right? They have no idea. And then there is retail investors who have immersed themselves into this thing and they totally understand what's going on, or or every day we're getting more and more of an understanding of what's going on, right? And it's scary. So we try to talk to our friends and family and it's like, hey, this is what's happening. But you're going to have some people, they don't want to know. They don't want to know until something drastic happens. Well, I think that the candidate, once again, that's going to do something about the crime in the stock market, in my opinion, and many other people's opinion, is President Donald Trump.
Day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman. Was that unpopular?
When I host spaces, I bring up information from the past because I think what happens is we have so much information that's thrown at us that really good information gets buried. And I like to bring up old information so people can understand where we've been and possibly where we're going. You look at a situation like Tesla, like the gentleman that owns X, Elon Musk. Elon Musk, at one point, his company Tesla had a huge problem with the SEC, dereliction of duty. Gary Gensler and the SEC, according to Elon Musk, as a matter of fact, why don't I just go ahead and I'll just play the video so you can go ahead and see for yourself. Elon Musk addressing the SEC and regulatory capture.
Not once did the SEC go after any of the hedge funds who were nonstop shorting and distorting Tesla. Not once. They would lie flat. The hedge funds would lie flat out on TV for their own gain at the expense of retail investors. Not once, literally 1,000 times. Not once did the SEC pursue them.
How do you explain this failure on
The incentive structure is messed up because the lawyers at the SEC are not paid well. It's a fairly low-paying job, but what they're looking for is a trophy from the SEC. They're looking for something they put on basically their LinkedIn.
Yeah.
From that, they can get a job at a high-paying law firm. That's exactly what the lawyer here did. And the reason they don't attack the hedge funds is because those hedge funds employ those law firms. And they know if they attack the hedge funds, they're affecting their future career prospects. So they sell small investors down the river for their own career. That's what actually happens. Regulatory capture.
Regulatory capture.
Yeah, not good.
Regulatory capture, not good. Another company that was a victim of predatory naked short selling. Predatory naked short selling. These are the issues that are very important to retail investors. We have, for many years, pleaded, brought the information forward to the powers that be, the government agencies that's supposed to protect retail investors. We have done this over and over and over again, and we're still here. We're still here. So I said this before, and I'll say it again. I believe the candidate that will do something about stock market manipulation is Donald Trump. I think that Donald Trump has a dog in the fight. He understands where we're coming from. His CEO understands where we're coming from. Elon Musk understands where we're coming from. RFK Jr. understands where we're coming from. RFK Jr. bought some money. I forget exactly what it was, but he had a lawsuit and he took that money and he put his money where his mouth is, and he bought some stock in a GME and GameStop. And I would like to actually play this clip and also play a clip from Robert Kennedy Jr. This is before his endorsement of Trump, before he crossed over from the Democratic Party over to the Republican Party to support Trump. That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. So let me go ahead and play both of those clips here so you can go ahead and see for yourself. Like I said, there's so much information out there. You may have seen all of this, but you may have, and some people may have not. So this could be new to some people. The information is there. We don't want the information to just get lost. We don't want, this information is important. People need to see it. People need to understand why, in particular, a retail investor like myself, the retail investors are looking at Donald Trump and supporting Donald Trump and these people that I'm showing you here. So let me go ahead and play this clip right now. Robert Kennedy Jr.
More importantly, there's three giant corporations: BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, which own collectively, they own each other, so it's really one giant corporation. But they also own 89% of the S&P 500. They own everything. They've now decided to buy every single family home in America. So if they stay on the current trajectory, they will own 60% of the homes in this country, single family homes, by 2030. They literally are trying to buy everything. And the head of it, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, is on the board of the World Economic Forum. And what they've said, we want this great reset, which is you will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, they're on their way to making sure that we don't own anything. Country, but you've got 57% of the American people who cannot put their hands on $1,000 if they have an emergency. And for those people, the engine light goes on in their car, and it's like the apocalypse happened. It's the end of the world for them. We have now, kids can't afford houses. The housing price has gone from $215,000 2 years ago to $400,000 today. You know, I have 7 kids who are in the range 20 to 35, and almost none of their friends are buying houses. That was part of the American dream, that if you worked hard, you played by the rules, you could afford a house, you could take a summer vacation, you could raise a family, put money aside for retirement, and that was with one job, and that's not happening.
Well, now anymore. I think you tweeted about this, about half the country, the median income is below...
Is $5,000
less than the cost of living.
Right.
So you basically have to have 2 jobs.
You have to have 2 jobs,
But how do we and you said your economic plan is going to fix that. How do we fix that? Because this seems structural over years or decades even.
Yeah. And well, number one, we have to unravel the warfare business, the warfare machine. That is bankrupting our country. Paul Kennedy, who's a Yale historian, has done this extraordinary history on the decline of empires, and every empire in the last 500 years, its death knell was overextending its military abroad. We've spent $8 trillion on wars over the past 20 years, since 2002, that have gotten us nothing, that have made it less safe to be an American, our country less safe. The Chinese spent $8 trillion during that same period while we were bombing bridges, ports, roads, schools, universities, hospitals. They were building them, and they're now the principal creditor for almost every nation in Latin America and virtually every country in Africa.
So how would cutting the defense budget help the middle class?
Well, in a number of different ways. I mean, first of all, we're going to lower our deficits. We can bring a lot of that money home. I mean, if we hadn't spent that $8 trillion, Brian, we could extend the life of solvency for Social Security alone for 30 years. We could pay for university educations for every child in America. We could pay off the credit card debt in our country for individuals. We could...
So take the DOD spending cuts. This is primary to your economic plan. Transfer that money into other things.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not the only thing I want to do. I have a number of direct programs that are common sense programs that will begin restoring the middle class in this country in dramatic ways.
Okay, what's another one?
Well, one of them is to create, one of the big problems, one of the reasons that the price of housing has gone up, and nobody can get a house anymore. People make an offer on a house, and then somebody comes in with a cash offer of...
a lot of
Robert Kennedy Jr., very, very popular Democrat, came over to the Republican side to support Donald Trump. Robert Kennedy Jr. understands how Americans feel. This is how we feel. Americans can't afford gas. They can't afford rent. They can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford to live. So when you see someone like this come over and support Donald Trump, it's very encouraging. It was a very exciting moment because a lot of people respect this man. A lot of people feel the exact same way as he does. I know that one of the things that's very important to him is the American diet, which I am in full support of. I am glad that he is bringing this thing to the attention of the masses. I know he has his thoughts on stock market manipulation, his thoughts on what we are consuming, what we are intaking into our bodies. Kudos to him. Kudos to him, man, for being brave. You know, a lot of people would think that was career suicide. No. The Republican Party has embraced him with open arms. And that's the way it should be, right? It should be that way. This man has the interests of America in mind, just like the president, Donald Trump. He has the American citizens in mind. He has our country in mind. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Congratulations to that man. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you for having the courage to cross over to the Republican side and speaking up and speaking out. We appreciate it. The American, he is listening to his American citizens, his brothers and sisters of the United States of America, just like J.D. Vance, just like Elon Musk, just like Donald Trump. They understand how we feel, and they are listening. They are paying attention. They are listening. You can tell the difference between both campaigns. Clearly can tell the difference between both campaigns. I have a video I would like to show you. I would like to for you to decide yourself, because the thing that I'm hearing from a lot of people when we're discussing the whole Biden-Harris situation is they were very disingenuous when it came to Joe Biden and his health. If you have people in your family that is suffering from whatever, mental illness, or if they're suffering from, whatever physical illness, you know what that looks like. Okay. You don't have to be a doctor and diagnose it yourself. You just know what it looks like, right? Okay. So we've seen this. So it seems like for years they have lied to us about the health of Joe Biden. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying what it looked like when he would be campaigning and giving speeches, and even most recently when he had the debate with Donald Trump. President Biden just hasn't looked well for a long time, and people feel that the Democrats have lied about this and pushed this narrative. And the minute that he does not perform well in a debate with Donald Trump, people feel like Biden was forced out. I don't know personally if he was forced out. I know what it looks like, right? We know what it looks like and what it feels like. So now you have Kamala Harris, who in interviews was asked, is there anything that you would have changed about the Biden-Harris administration? And she sat there with a very disingenuous look and said, no, I can't think of anything. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. We have high inflation. People cannot afford to live. People can't afford rent. They can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford gas. They can't afford food. You have people that are out there with 2 or 3 jobs. You have the public on social media and everywhere else screaming and letting you know. So you can't sit there and act like you don't know these things and then look in the camera with, to me, like I said, a very disingenuous look and say, oh, well, I can't think of anything. Then you don't understand the people. You are not of the people if you don't understand these very fundamental things. People can't afford to live. People are telling you they are not better off now than they were 4 years ago. You can't sit there and say that you are for the people and you can't understand or even admit these very, very fundamental things. These are just basic things you need to live. Basic. Let me play this clip for you so you can go ahead and see for yourself.
She's taking heat for the way she answered this question.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Though you say every day you're going to turn the page, and then all of a sudden saying you can't think of anything comes to mind that you would do differently.
Dumbest answer so far. Donald Trump ranted on social media. For starters, the border disaster, loss of respect all over the globe, and much more. And she praised actress Maya Rudolph's portrayal of her on SNL.
We have got momentum. She's so good. Yeah. She's so good.
Next up, Howard Stern, a big Trump critic.
Do you feel the pressure of the moment? I believe the entire future of this country right now, I think it's literally on the line.
I literally lose sleep and have been over what is at stake in this election.
Tonight, she'll join Stephen Colbert, who is also no fan of Donald Trump's. Now, despite facing tough questions on 60 Minutes, her critics on Fox News are slamming Harris for doing mostly softball interviews at a time of crisis.
Some would call it a comedy tour.
That last person, what do they call it? A comedy tour? Kamala Harris's press run, a comedy tour? Well, this is no laughing matter, and this is no joke. It's no joke. You have the country right now that is very unhappy with the performance of the Biden-Harris administration, and you cannot answer a question sincerely. I don't think that was a sincere answer. The answer that she gave on A View, very disingenuous. It was political, and I think that's the difference, right? You have one candidate, Kamala Harris, who it seems like it's very, very disingenuous, reading off teleprompters. If you don't have the teleprompter, you are lost. So it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel real. But when you listen to President Trump talk in a speech, or when he's just talking in an interview, right? Feels very genuine, feels very authentic. This feels like this is just who this man is. Funny, charismatic, but he's an American that cares about his country. Forget the fact that he is a billionaire. Throw that out. If anything, he is a billionaire that does not have to do this job. Actually, yeah, maybe we should think about the fact that he's a billionaire, doesn't have to do this job, risked his life for this country. To me, that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. I think this is the consensus of a lot of people that have went from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party, especially people of color, minorities like myself. We were, like I said in the beginning of this has always been a lifelong mindset. And that mindset is just vote Democrat. Indoctrination, just vote Democrat. Okay. I'll just listen to my elders. I'll listen to my community, and that's that. But you are seeing a shift and a change in the community. All of these videos that I've saw on multiple platforms, people that are saying, hey, we're tired of this. We're voting for Trump. We are not for the games anymore. We're not for the lies of the Democratic Party. These people are trying to demonize this man, trying to make him out to be a villain, comparing him to Adolf Hitler. How in the world are you going to compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler? It's a slap in the face. It is a slap to. It is insulting to our intelligence. You've gone too far. We don't see these things. We don't buy into the propaganda. Maybe that playbook worked at one time. Yes. Maybe at one time in our lives, we would have believed all of the lies and just said, hey, because it would have been easy, right? It would have been easy for us to be like, hey, we'll just go ahead and just vote the way the way we've always voted. We'll just go ahead and vote how our families and friends and communities have always voted. Well, we said no. We said no this time because we thought about it. And we're like, okay, what do we do? Well, do we put party first or do we put country first? And we have chosen to put country first. And that's how I feel. And that's how a lot of people that I've talked to feels. It's amazing. The majority of the people that I've talked to that are friends and family members have never voted Republican. They've never voted Republican until this election. Until this election. Now they're like, we've had enough. We're voting Republican. So I'm not going to tell anybody how to vote. I think that you should just go out there and vote. It is your right. You're an American citizen. You should vote. The only thing that I ask of you is if you're going to make a vote, hopefully it is for a good reason, and hopefully the candidate that you vote for, their views, their issues, the things that they're going to address, hopefully it aligns with the way you think and the issues that are important to you and what you would like to see corrected in this country. There's so many things in this country that are on top of mind for people. The border crisis, inflation, can't afford to eat, can't afford to live, rents are through the roof, houses are through the roof. We have a war in Ukraine that we're spending billions of dollars on, and we have we don't fully understand why. We have what we think is going on over there, but we don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't have the insider information. I don't work for the government. So I don't know, but we know what it looks like, right? And then, of course, you have retail investors like myself. There's millions and millions of us that are just tired of what's going on with the stock market. Business as usual. Go ahead and let the hedge funds and banks run wild, destroy the economy, destroy our financial markets, and have the nerve to sit here and a certain person in an interview basically try to blame retail investors. Look, retail investors, we're not sitting up here. We don't own dark pools, okay? We're not sitting up here breaking the law. We're not sitting here manipulating. We don't control the algorithms. We're not doing any of these things. The only thing that retail investors are doing is buying and holding and supporting their companies. And we're talking about it on social media. We're letting people know, hey, this is what's going on, or at least this is what we think is going on. But we're going to go ahead and support our companies. And we're right here. We're right here. We're still here supporting, trying to live the American dream, the dream that we've been sold our entire life. Allow us to live the American dream. Allow us to pursue the American dream. Don't rig the game. Don't rig the game anymore. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. As a country, we feel that we're better than this. We have, all of our lives have been told how great we are. Well, let's just do it. Let's be great. We can do it. We're a great country. Let's be great. Let's get rid of stock market manipulation. Let's get rid of the crime. Let's get rid of the crime in the stock market. I love this country. And a lot of people that I feel are voting for Donald Trump, I feel that they love this country too. I'm not saying that people who are voting for Harris does not love this country. But when I've had conversations, like I said before, I've had many conversations with friends and family and friends that are like family. And I have no problem explaining to them why I'm going from Democrat to Republican. But what's interesting is they can't give me a great reason why they're sticking with the Democratic side. Everything that they say in their argument is against Trump. They're not talking about policy. They're not talking about issues on the Democratic side. They're just talking about, oh, Trump this and Trump that. I'm going to say, listen, I understand that. Okay. I'm asking you, what is it on the Democratic side? What issues are important to you that you would like to see them correct, or you would like to see, things continue to go as they are? And the interesting thing that they tell me is they're not happy with the economy either. They're not happy with the cost of living. They're not happy with the cost of food, gas, so on and so forth. It's interesting. We have the same opinion about a lot of things, but yet they'll still vote Democrat because they're voting party. It is something that has been ingrained in their mind. That was something that was ingrained in my mind. But I've changed my mind. Donald Trump for president.
Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America!